Hey guys, it's Gabi, and today I'm going to be interviewing Anthony Frazer. He's an up-and-coming artist, so stay tuned to learn more about his journey. We're going to be going over all of his music, his new albums, and a little bit of drama.
Here we go.
So, Anthony, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm actually from like the Fishtown, Port Richmond area.
And how old were you when you knew that you could sing?
Honestly, 2. Like pretty young, but I started singing and dancing at 2 years old.
What was it like growing up in Philadelphia?
It was kind of hectic. There's a lot of drugs and stuff like that go on, especially in the area where I'm from, and a lot of violence. But you kind of always have to keep a positive mind and find things that you can take your attention to and focus on.
Do you think that shaped you as an artist growing up in that environment?
I definitely think that it has, and I think that it shaped me as a person. Overall, kind of like what experiences I was, exposed to early on as to what I could possibly do to prevent in the future.
How is the music and culture there in Philly?
The music and culture is amazing. Honestly, it's so immersive and welcoming. Like every person on the street corner is like, banging trash cans and little like, I don't know, like there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Like people are always constantly singing. There's always music throughout the streets, and it's a huge melting pot of music too. It's not one specific genre.
So who would you say is one of your favorite artists, or was growing up?
Growing up, my biggest influence would probably be Michael Jackson.
Yeah?
Yeah. Huge influence.
Okay, with Michael Jackson being one of your favorite artists, who's the artist that you idolize?
Right now?
Yeah.
Britney Spears.
Why?
Honestly, I started getting into Britney Spears around like 7 years old when she first came out, and just the way that she has approached her entire career and the way that she has elevated herself every single time has just been amazing. So if I could even come close to that,
yeah.
I really feel like between Britney Spears and Michael Jackson and Justin Timberlake, like those are 3 huge artists to really look up to, and they're big shoes to fill. So
yeah, definitely. Where would you say your passion and drive comes from?
My passion and drive, that would more so be like the people that were around me growing up. Like
yeah.
my grandfather always worked every single day and always like put it into our heads, like me and the rest of my cousins, like make sure that you work a full-time job, make sure that you do what you need to do and fight for your passions and your dreams. And then like people like my mom and stuff like that have always told me like go after whatever it is that you want, like don't just settle for less.
Yeah. So would you say they're pretty supportive of you?
Oh yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
That's good. So let's get into more of your music. How old were you when you had your first big break?
So actually I was pretty young. I was 5 years old
Wow.
when I had my first big break. I was on a TV show called Al Alberts.
Mm-hmm.
I was in this huge like dance group, and it was Bobby G's Motion and Dance back in Philadelphia. And so we had a couple of times where we performed on the TV show for Al Alberts, and it was pretty cool.
Do you ever get nervous?
Do I get nervous? Actually, I'm kind of nervous right now, but not when I'm on stage.
So I heard you started writing music at 15. How did you start? How did you get into that?
So I actually started writing music for myself.
Mm-hmm.
My teacher in high school, I think I was in like freshman, he reached out to me and he was like, hey, there's this contest. It's called the Philadelphia Inspired Expressions Contest. And he actually approached it like, oh, it's the pie contest. And I was like, pie eating? Like, what is this? But he was like, no, Philadelphia Inspired Expressions. He's like, and all these students from around the city, they join and they bring different things to the table. And there's like 5 different parts of it. There's like music, there's art, there's writing, there's all these different things. And he's like, you pick from these topics, and then you go from there. And so one of the topics was honesty is the best policy. And so I was like, snatch, that's it. And I wrote a song called Honesty is the Best Policy, and out of 450 students, I was a runner-up, first runner-up.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So after you did that, did you continue to write music for yourself, or did you start writing for other people?
I did write for other people. I wrote for a couple of local artists between the ages of like 16 to 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still writing for myself and like writing a lot of music that, you know, experiences that I was going through or I was facing, but I was more so trying to get my feet wet with other artists first, because I was kind of like, you know, I don't feel like I'm prepared or I'm ready to be like in the spotlight, but I feel like I definitely probably would have been able to handle it at that point.
So is that why you feel like you were geared more towards writing for other people than, you know, focusing on your own stuff?
In the beginning, yes. Like after the first couple of years of writing for other people, I really felt like, okay, like, you know, this is really, really good. I can do it for myself.
Yeah.
But I think it was still like the pressure of like, is it perfect? I'm such a perfectionist that I never feel like anything is perfect already.
So you released your debut single Let Go in 2018. Why did you choose that song to release?
So when I started writing music, I already had 3 songs that I knew for sure were like, these songs are gonna come out.
Yeah.
It was On the Dance Floor, Like Fire, and Cry.
Mm-hmm.
They were the 3 songs that started my entire career. They were the 3 songs that I wrote for myself that I wasn't gonna give to anybody else. And I had these songs in my head the entire time. And I was like, this is it. And then I started writing more music towards the release of that album, like 2016, 2017. And I fell in love with Let Go.
Yeah.
Like Let Go was just like, it was the track that was the catchiest to me. Like I couldn't even get it out of my head.
Yeah.
And so I was like, if I can't get it out of my head and it's an earworm, it's gonna be an earworm for other people.
Yeah.
And I also felt like, as an artist, you know, working with other people and then trying to find my own sound, like a lot of pop artists have built my sound and like who I am. They really like sculpted me, and I felt like that track was the most me. It was the most, you know, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Michael Jackson that I could be.
Yeah.
And so I tried to put all those influences in that track, and it was probably one of the best choices.
So you released that on February 23rd. Was there any significance to that date?
Yes. So I feel like there's always like this kind of like, you know, good luck thing that has to happen with music, and I always try to put positive things behind either like the releases or like the memorance of whatever the song is about.
Yeah.
And so February 23rd is actually my grandmother's birthday. And so I wanted to release it on that day specifically for her.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like it was, you know, the song's not about her, but it was something that like I could hold true to my heart as like.
Has she been someone who's always supported your journey?
Always. Always.
So you released 3 other singles before you released the album. Why did you choose to do that?
So there's kind of a strategy as a like a brand new artist or like a debut artist. There's a thing that you need to do to kind of get as much music out as possible to kind of keep burning, you know, that fire for people.
Yeah.
And so normally as an artist that's under a label, you know, the label will push it to like radio stations and stuff like that. But as an independent artist, you don't really have that. So I wanted to release as many singles as I can across like 6 to 8 months, maybe even 10, and try to get people to keep wanting more and more and more, and not give them my complete best, but not give them anything that was too different from the rest of the album.
Yeah.
So the second and third singles were Speechless and My Whole World, and then Summertime was the 4th single, and I felt like they fit such a mood that like people could really get the idea of what the album was about.
Yeah. Tell us about your first album, This Is Me.
This Is Me. So This Is Me took 2 years to write. This Is Me was not even supposed to be the title of the album. The album title was actually supposed to be called On the Dance Floor, off of the first song that I ever wrote. And as I was writing this music, I didn't know what was coming of it, and I was going through, a lot with my relationship at the time, with my ex, and there's a lot of back and forth between love and hate, and want to be in a relationship and then you don't, and
Yeah.
I was feeling all these emotions that I felt were like really true to who I was at that time, and so I wrote this album not knowing that it was going to be an album.
Yeah.
And then I just sat down one day and was like, these songs make a cohesive piece.
And this is me.
Right. And I mean, it was so autobiographical at the time that it just seemed like fitting to just call it This Is Me and then leave it open-ended.
What's the overall feel of the album?
The overall feel is self-worth and finding yourself. It's about the importance of knowing that you are important.
Yeah.
It's not all about the bells and whistles of relationships and family and all that other stuff. Like at the end of the day, you have to be 100% yourself before everything else around you can start working in that manner. So the whole thing was about, the first song on there is called This Is Me, and it was me growing up and facing different things of like being gay and, not being accepted and, God and church and everything that was like breathed down my neck to the end of, this relationship that went from happy to ending to them being like, what do you do to move on? And then he's like, you have to be your own motivation, which is the last song on the album.
Do you feel like you still relate to that album today?
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably the most truthful album that I've released yet.
And why didn't you feature any other artists on that album?
So, I get this question a lot actually. The reason why no one else is featured on the album is because the album is so autobiographical.
Yeah.
And I felt like the album needed to be a body of work that was just about me. And not to sound selfish or self-centered or anything like that, but it needed to be something that I was wholeheartedly a part of, because these experiences that I was experiencing were only about myself. They weren't about other people. So I didn't feel like having somebody else feature on a track was appropriate for the album.
That makes sense.
It wouldn't just be me.
Yeah. So what's your favorite song off that album?
My favorite song off that album would probably be Never Be Mine.
Why?
The song was written about somebody who actually,
Never Gonna Be Yours?
that's never gonna be mine. The song was actually written about somebody who I wasn't in a relationship with. It was somebody who I had, liked and affirmation for and stuff like that. But it was just like the cutest bubblegum pop song that I wrote, and I was like, oh, this is so cute if I was releasing this album in the 90s.
So you released Let Go in 2018. How long was it until you started performing and promoting the album?
Probably about a year.
Why was that?
So obviously I wasn't like in the best of shape and where I wanted to be physically. And I actually moving out to Arizona, I gained a lot of weight. So I just didn't feel the part to play my music.
Yeah.
But then I just got to the point where it's like, I can't put myself on the back burner anymore. I just got to do it.
Yeah. So how did it feel to finally be in the spotlight again?
In the spotlight? Amazing, to be honest. It felt really, really good. Every time I perform, it puts all of my priorities back in order, like of what I need to do and how I need to get there.
Yeah, that's good. So let's talk about the Sandbox Music Festival. I know you were a featured artist, and Lil Nas X was scheduled to perform.
Yeah.
What happened with that situation?
So we had prepared for like 2 months for that show. We prepared for a while, and I was actually a featured artist on Taylor Renee's set.
Yeah.
I think we had like 12 to 15 minutes to perform, so basically, the length of Super Bowl halftime. And this is supposed to be a huge event. There were supposed to be 75,000 people in attendance.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the tickets were like all sold out beforehand. They gifted a bunch of tickets to students and children at different schools, and the day before, we got the call that Lil Nas canceled,
Yeah.
and everything was already paid for. So we couldn't pull out because we had paid to be in these spots.
Yeah.
Like these are spots that local artists had to pay for.
You released your debut single, Living It Up, featuring Taylor Renee. How did that come to be?
So that single was actually the first song off of my sophomore album, Dreamin' in Color. And me and Taylor Renee had just met right before. I asked her to be on my track. We actually were doing some residency show that was here in Phoenix at one of the local bars, and we're like, you know, like we love each other, like this is great, like the admiration that we had for each other was like awesome, and like she's a great person, and like it made everything a little bit easier to find somebody who was like me, you know, that was like the female counterpart to what I was doing in pop music and what she's doing in pop music.
Yeah.
And so like we just collaborated, and I was like, I actually have this track that I'm trying to put out. I think you'd be perfect for it. I was like, can you put a little bit of fire on this? And she was like, of course I can.
Yeah.
Sent her the track, and it was a really rough demo, but she absolutely loved it. We went into the studio within like a week and we cut the whole thing, so it was pretty awesome.
So speaking of Dreaming in Color, I know you released that in the fall of 2019, and that's the first time that you did a deluxe edition to the standard one. So why did you do that?
So the reason I did the deluxe is because I had the tracks already tracked out for the standard album, and there were specific songs, which are all the ones that are singles. You know, in the standard edition, you're only going to find the regular songs. You're not going to find all the featured artists. But if you want the featured artist, you got to go get the deluxe edition.
So you have 4 featured artists on that album. Who were they, and how was it working together?
So Living It Up was with Taylor Renee. Absolute pleasure. Love her to death.
Yeah.
We've worked on a lot of music now at this point together, and we've performed on a lot of shows. So absolutely love her, and I love her work ethic. It's just like unmatched by other people. So that was really, really good. And Just Like Me was the second song. Just Like Me was a feature from Raspberry. So he's a friend of mine that I've known for 5-6 years now. Yeah. And absolutely love him, love his work ethic, love his style, love the way that he approaches music and his insight on music. And honestly, like, to hear his voice on a track of mine was just so refreshing, because his music isn't pop music, you know, his music doesn't fit in a box. Yeah. And like, to hear him feature on one of my tracks was just, I don't know, perfect. I love the harmonies and everything. It just sounds really, really good. Actually, the 4th single that was released from it. Yeah. And it's called Next Another Song. And that was featuring a friend of mine who I worked with at the time. His name is Tragic. And he is an artist that's from LA. Yeah. And so he had been rapping for years, and I love his style. His style was sick. So actually, you know Tragic.
Yeah.
So,
It's a good song.
Yeah, it's a good song. And it was like, I needed somebody who could put some fire behind a verse. Yeah. And so like, I wanted like my ex to feel the burn, and he wanted his ex at the time to feel the burn. So it was like, it was a great song to really put together. And then my most listened to song was actually my 3rd single from that album, and it's Dance With Me, featuring Lisa Bird.
You think that's one of your standout tracks?
It's probably my most noticeable track.
It's one of my favorite tracks.
I mean, like, everybody listens to Dance With Me. I think Dance With Me has like over 5,000 Shazams just through Apple itself. Like, I get, you know, all the little stats and everything through you know, Artist for Apple or Apple for Artist, and it's amazing just to see how much that song has skyrocketed, and like around the world.
Yeah.
Like,
I listen to it. I'm working out.
It's so good.
So in 2019, you performed over 30 shows in 5 months, which is crazy. Yeah. So why did you do that, and how was it?
So we started performing gigs. I was performing by myself. I was performing with Taylor Renee, and people really, really loved what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so individually we were getting shows and we were booking each other for things, and then together we were getting shows and we were like, let's knock this out left and right. And it was just amazing at how fast like people just seen what we were doing and they were like, I want to be a part of that, or I want you a part of this.
Yeah.
Like, things were just coming in left and right. We couldn't even keep up.
That's good though.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to be an independent artist?
To be an independent artist means no sleep. It means hard work and long days. It means that you really don't have people to turn to tell you yes or no, or to help financially with things. Like, being an independent artist it's a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really don't give independent artists or underground local talent like the credit that they deserve.
Yeah. So I'm sure, being independent, you wear a lot of different hats. So tell us about some of the other things that you do besides just, singing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of hats that I wear. Singer, songwriter, producer, editor, conceptuals for albums, for songs, for videos, for photo shoots, booking people, setting up appointments, doing casting calls, rehearsals, all that stuff. It's a lot. People don't actually know what goes into it, but it's a lot of hours of just not just recording and singing your songs, but it's getting everything together.
Wouldn't it just be easier to hire someone to help you out?
It would be, but it's very rewarding being able to do it on your own.
Yeah.
But it also costs a lot of money to hire a lot of people.
Yeah. That's true.
And people don't want to work for free, people want to get paid. And at the end of the day, I know that because I want to get paid for what I do.
Yeah.
But you have to see what you can handle and what you can put off on other people, and the things that you can put off on other people, can you pay them for their time?
Yeah.
So
we all know 2020 has been a crazy year. So with that being said, how has COVID and the pandemic impacted, your shows and everything that you have planned for the year?
Well, it hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Starting in March of this year, I was actually supposed to do 2 radio interviews in LA. I was supposed to do 6 festivals, like major festivals, pride festivals across the country.
Yeah.
In 6 different cities. And I was also supposed to do 2 national anthem performances for pay-per-view UFC fights.
Oh, wow.
And everything was like,
yeah.
boom. And it's, you gotta roll with the punches, though. You have to be able to figure out what it is that you can do,
Yeah.
besides that. If something hurts, or something, happens and it hurts you, what can you do to fix it? Or what can you do to improvise?
So aside from like the missed opportunities that everyone had this year, what were some positive things that came out of the pandemic?
A lot of positive, actually. as much as there were negative, there were a lot more positive things. I was able to focus down on my album, my new album. I was able to work with some people that I really admired and I wanted to work with that were local.
Yeah.
And that were up and coming as well. There were a lot of music videos that I've been able to shoot and get out of the way. There's a lot of things I could do, now, because I've built relationships with people to make things look more pleasing and to be of higher quality.
So I noticed that you just released your single Broken.
Yes.
And you're releasing a deluxe edition of your first album. So tell me about the music. Why did you pick Broken as a single?
As a single?
Yeah.
So with the first 4 singles from the album, This Is Me, I felt like I kind of left it open-ended. Broken is really like the end of the relationship, so I wanted something to fill out the end. So I've always known that I was going to release a deluxe edition of the album.
Yeah.
I just didn't know when. And to be honest, I wanted to go back and re-record all the music so that it sounded, better. Because I'm always a perfectionist. But I've been talked into not not re-recording all my music and
Yeah.
to leave it as is, because you do grow as an artist and you have to see where you started and where you go and stuff like that. So that was a pretty big thing to me, but I did want to re-record Broken, and I wanted that to be a single because it felt like it finally closed that chapter.
Yeah.
And there's a way that I want to put out these videos, so Broken is a perfect way to help those videos go along.
Yeah. So there's another track that you have called Speechless, and you've been putting out little teasers here and there. So what can we expect for that music video? A movie.
It's gonna be iconic.
And tell us about your YouTube and your involvement with the channel.
So I created a YouTube page probably back in like 2009, 2010. Was posting up some videos and stuff like that on there, but I really wanted to like get all of my videos and my performances together, whether they were, you know, good quality or not so good quality.
Yeah.
You know, and I just wanted to put them out. I want people to see that I did do 30 shows in 5 months. That I have been hard at work, you know, that this isn't my first rodeo. Like, this is what I've been doing over the last 2 years since I released my album, my first album and my first single. So I want to get all that footage out on there and kind of build up what it is, because you have to be at a certain amount of subscribers, you got to be at a certain amount of views to start making money. So can't build it by just promoting it. You got to actually give people some insight as to what's going to be on the channel.
So on your channel, what are you doing with the Throwback Thursdays and the Flashback Fridays?
I'm releasing all of my performances, basically. You
Your
know,
older performances.
yeah, I want people to see all of that. I want
Yeah.
people to get an idea of what it's like to see me as a performer independently, and I want people to see growth. That is one of the main things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, you just dropped the bomb about your new album called Reflections. So tell us about the album title and what the album's about.
So Reflections is actually a body of work that is going to be a prologue to my entire discography. This is technically the music that I've written since 2006 until 2017 that hasn't been released. Nobody knows about this music unless like they're really close and I've like sent them snippets or like some stuff over the years, but they've been really like bad demos. But I'm revisiting all those songs and those tracks that really stand out to me that I still want out, and I'm putting them on an album called Reflections.
So what's the main thing that you want your followers to gain from this new music that you're about to put out?
To see my growth, to see like, to reflect on what it is that I've done, and that I have been here longer than 2 years. I've been here for 15 years.
Hence the name Reflections.
Right.
Can you give us like an exclusive insight on your first single?
So the first single is a toss-up. It's either going to be a song called On the Dance Floor, that I've performed at a couple of shows, so you can probably catch that on my YouTube channel if you want to go listen to it. But it's not the official version. And then there's a song called For My Heart, which is featuring a up-and-coming artist, and her name is Hsieh. And the song is everything. Like, if you think like 90s ballad, like nostalgic, like that's exactly what you get from this. And I cannot wait because people are yelling ready.
And what is this song?
This song is called For My Heart. This is the song featuring Hsieh, and I think that this is an amazing track.
Is this off of the first Reflections or Reflections Part 2?
Reflections Part 1.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen.
Leave it all again. Leave it all again. I know that we will love again. Together forever in the end. Telling you we're gonna make it through.
What is this track off of?
This track is On the Dance Floor, and this is from Reflections Part 1 as well.
Okay.
Gonna dance like this, gonna dance slow. Do what you're doing, I'm gonna so. Put your hands on this one, get it on. Put your left leg up if you want some more. 'Cause we're on the dance floor. Do what you're doing, I'm gonna so. Put your hands on this one, get it on. Put your left leg up if you want some more.
Okay. I'm starting to like Reflections Part 1 a little
Right.
bit. my hand, I'm like just trying to. Okay, so for those people who want to follow you on your journey to success, where can they find you at?
You can find me at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, anywhere social media. You can find me it's at Anthony Frazer or Anthony Frazer Music, and then my websites are anthonyfrazer.com and anthonyfrazermusic.com.
Perfect. Follow, subscribe, comment,
Hit the notification button on YouTube.
share. Okay, cut. We should, oh my god, when you put this on YouTube, it should be like, you know, thumbnail us, and it should be like, diss tracks, question mark.
It's good. Grab the chair, weirdo.
Why can't I be there?
Because I need you to make sure I don't look stupid. If I have an ugly face for I can't.
I don't know what I'm saying though.
Am I slouching too much? Do I look like I'm slouching in that?
No.
No, okay, good.
Damn it. Alright, whatever, I already said.
How fat do I look?
You don't look fat.
Amber!
Can you hear me
I
now?
need you to make sure I don't
Huh?
look stupid.
Like, can you, like, is this okay? Am I being heard?
I think
Yeah.
so. No.
Yeah, but I'm shy.
No, you are not.
I am.
Okay, so just turn that into a question for yourself. Like,
Okay.
why is it that you took some time away before you started promoting and performing the album?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Do you remember it?
okay. Hold on. I'm trying to think how I would say it so it sounds natural.
Okay.
Okay. Hey guys, it's Gabi, and today I'm gonna be. What?
Don't be so monotone.
That's how I am.
Girl.
Okay, Anthony, this is the
Live
best
up
you're
the
gonna
party.
get. This is the best. Okay, go stand over there, and then you insert a clip of me like this. Okay, cut.
Cool.
Do an intro for yourself.
Do it.
Okay. Hey guys, it's Gabi. Fuck. Okay. Damn it.
Nice last name.
Gabi, fuck. Okay. Just bleep all of that out. Alright. Hey guys, it's Gabi, and today I'm going to be interviewing up-and-coming artist Anthony Frazer, so keep watching to learn about his journey. We're going to be going over his music, his albums, and a little bit of drama. That's it. That's all you're going to